Hi, Charbonne's back. I did say I would try to do this once a week, and right now my grandchildren are visiting. Yay, from California. Not in this moment, but they are in town from California. And tomorrow we have a big day planned. We just have a big day planned. So I figured I'm going to record it a little earlier because I was planning to do it Sundays nights, but because of the change, I'm recording it today. Also, probably be the same for the next few weeks because I got a lot of stuff going on. All fun stuff, all fun stuff. But that's not why you're here. Hi, welcome back. And this is Charbonne Speaks, the spiritual being having a human experience. And what are we going to talk about today? What's been running through my mind? Well, there's a couple things. So, one of the things that I've been doing lately is binging on YouTube. The plus of working from home and the minus of working from home is that you don't have coworkers anymore, right? I mean, you do have them, but they're not in the room with you. So the normal chatter during the day with your coworkers, like on your break, you might get up and say, hey, how's it going? How's the kids? How's the family? Or what have you, or whatever the conversations are. Don't happen for me like they did pre-COVID. And so 4 days a week, I'm at home in my office, working from home. And I've never really been a big texter or an instant message person. So given that, and I'm Gen X people, so I'm in that in-between stage. Some things I still like talking to people either in person or on the phone. So I digress. So I've been watching YouTube pretty much since it started in 2020. YouTube became my new coworker. So I just talk back to the TV. I'm just like all those other people who watch TV all day and yell at the screen. And it's not even sporting events. And those who grew up in a house with sports enthusiasts understand that connection. They're usually sitting in front of TV screaming at it. And you're like, they can't hear you. But anyway, I digress, because I used to be one of those people too, so I can't be too funny. Anyway, so I've been watching YouTube, and what I've been watching lately, my binge lately, originally was about expats, expatriates, people who move from the US or Canada or Europe to more what's considered budget-friendly locales at different ages or groups, and the attraction for younger people to make that decision of being able to figure out how to travel the world on a budget, basically, and just see the world. And some decide to stay in their new home locale. There's a lot to unpack. There is a lot of conversation around that, and it was very fascinating conversation, and I really got a lot out of it, and I really enjoyed it. And I realized that I'm not a person who wants to be an expat. Don't get me wrong. My country has problems. But with that said, anyway, just for personal reasons, not in that mindset for me. So then I moved on to watching a lot of spiritualist church content, a lot of whatever classes that would be put up, interviews would be put up about various different mediums and spiritualists and history of spiritualism. And I'm still an avid reader and avid collector. Right now, I'm an avid collector of books. I haven't read as many books as I own, which is kind of cool to have this kind of a small library of books to read for those times when I'll actually get around to reading them. But anyway, so just gathering that information. And then among other things, YouTube offers all kinds of things. Now, mind you, up until recently, I'm home 5 days a week, work 8 hours a day working my normal job. So 8 hours a day of content, you can go through a lot of content. So lately has been the multi-level marketing content. And it has been a fascinating journey watching all of this information and discussion and commentary on multi-level marketing business. And I'm not getting into that, good, better, and different. Y'all watch it, don't watch it. I'm not recommending it or not recommending it. But what I was able to take from it is how we as human beings, and our need to feel connected, our need to feel loved, and our need for comfort and support, especially when we're not feeling our best, sometimes clouds our ability to be critical thinking of situations, circumstances, or offers, or relationships, or friendships, or whatever you want to call them, that come to us. And sometimes it can also lead us into being involved in things that we probably wouldn't normally get involved in, because it's feeding a level of need for us. It's feeding a level of comfort that we need in that time. And then I looked at it in terms of translating it to being a medium, to being a spiritualist, and being a part of a spiritualist organization. You know, I direct my own church and run a service every Wednesday night. So, and I have members, you know, and actively, you know, all the things. Because I don't really want to get into my church and what it's about. And it's a spiritual church, but I mean, that's not why this is here. But thinking about it, and religion is a prime example of the various different organizations and groups that have formed over belief systems, good, better, and different. Whether I agree with them or not is irrelevant to this conversation. But we also have heard about people who have been harmed in these situations, who have been, quote unquote, take the quotations away, who have felt bamboozled, who have felt brainwashed, who have felt manipulated or abused. And it's not just religion, but I'm focusing on the religious aspect because I'm a spiritualist in a religion that a lot of people out there, when you tell them you're a spiritualist, you're a medium, oh, you're a member of that cult. And the thing about it is that every religion and everything has the potential to become a cult. Let's be real. All of it has the potential to become a cult-like obsession and following, and changing who you are and doing things that you wouldn't normally do, because this group is making you feel loved, making you feel needed, making you feel accepted. So the love bombing, and then followed by that is hitting your pain points. What are your, what triggers do you have? What traumas are you carrying? And then hitting those and manipulating those points in you to keep you in the group, but also to start tearing you down in your self-worth and your self esteem, and make you dependent on them for trying to feel better about yourself, dependent on them giving you praise or saying that you did a good job, so that you can feel like you value, you're human. And those are the extreme cases that happen in cult-like situations. But if we pull that back though, at the core, what it is people wanting to be loved and to love, right? People wanting to be of service and to be served, to be in community with like-minded individuals, and not wanting to risk losing it when you find it. And then when the outside voices, or when other people from outside of the group start saying, hey, random name. I know nobody named Sally, so I'm going to use the name Sally. At least currently, I know no one's named Sally. Unless there's a Sally out there who's going, you know me. Sorry, I didn't remember. Anyway, Sally, I know how much you love going to that group, to that activity, to participating, pick a thing. But, I've noticed that your behavior changed a little bit. Every time we get together now, all you talk about is that group. When you call me, all you talk about is that group. And when I try to talk about other things that are going on or ask you about other things that might be going on in your life, Sally, like we used to, you seem to poo-poo it and go right back to talking about the group. And while I know you really love being a part of the group, Sally, and I love you, Sally, you think it's a little obsessive? You think maybe we could have a conversation that has nothing to do with the group? And Sally may, and the responses from Sally could be various, right? But the two main ones usually are, one is, oh, wow, I didn't even think about that, girl, you right. Or you just don't really support me, do you? Because inside the group, they've already prepped her and warned her. Your friends and family who are not a part of the group with us will eventually tell you that being a part of this group is wrong. And they're going to be haters. Which, by the way, people, learn what the word hater means and what an actual hater is. Because we call everybody a hater that disagrees with us. And that's not what a hater is. But if you talk to Sally and Sally's prepared. Oh, my group told me that you would eventually do this. So I know what you about, girl. You don't like me being part of the group. You're trying to get between me and my group, or me and my man, or me and my woman, or me and my pick a thing. And eventually, over time, this friend that was always friends, that Sally was always friends with, is no longer a friend, or they're reaching out to Sally less, or talking to Sally less. So Sally no longer is slowly losing contact with people before she joined the group, who are no longer friends with her. Now, don't get me wrong. There are situations where you can lose your friends that are valid situations. So that losing your friends because you came out of the closet as LGBTQIA, losing friends because you're standing up for the rights and humanities of others is different than losing friends because you joined a group that seemed to take up all of your time and energy and efforts, and you no longer have time for your friends or family like you used to. Now, a good example, so I'm sure people would bring up, well, that's what happened when people get married or when she has her first baby. True. It's been known that when people couple up or when people bring life into the world, they tend to lose friends because they're not available or have the same free time or whatever as they did when they were single and no children. But again, that's still something that doesn't denote a cult or a cult-like situation, unless you think having children is a cult. And let me tell you, there's no way having children is a sign of a cult. No. Raise them. I'm telling you. The word's cult ever. And don't get me wrong, I love my children, but there was no cult of personality going on. Both my boys are extremely independent-minded and were from birth, just like their mama, so I can't complain too badly. Anyway, I digress. But when you change who you are, when you notice that there are things that you do and say that are not in alignment with who you are, and I think those are the signs you start looking for in yourself. The one thing I love about spiritualism, at least what I've learned about it and what I've experienced and what I personally resonate with, is that at the heart of spiritualism is to thyself be true. In conjunction with, to be a good medium. You got to know you got to know what's your stuff and what's spirit. Right? You can't go in with your stuff because it will cloud the message. It will cloud the connection. So you got to really know yourself. Know thyself. For a basic example, right before I give a reading or before I'm about to do gallery, do messages, I first, or walking, even before I walk into a room or when I'm before I start leading my church, I will sit for a few seconds, I mean, obviously I've gotten faster at it. Didn't start off fast, but just like everything else, you do it long enough, you can get it done a little bit quicker. Anyway, I will sit a little few minutes and go do a body scan. What am I feeling? Does my head hurt? Does my neck hurt? Does my throat? Am I got a scratchy throat? Do I, et cetera, et cetera. Then I'll do an emotional scan. How am I feeling? Am I happy? Am I sad? Am I doing, I'll do that whole scan. Maybe I'll even take some notes down or not. Most of the time I don't. I just take a real general scan of how am I feeling physically and emotionally and mentally before I move into the attunement state to bring through spirit loved ones. So that way, when spirit comes in and I'm all of a sudden I'm coughing, that cough isn't mine because I wasn't coughing before it happened. Or if all of a sudden I'm feeling really sad, that sadness isn't mine because I wasn't feeling sad before I started. This is something that's coming from spirit, or the spirit loved one that's stepping through for me to bring a message to the sitter. This is a really rudimentary talk. So don't, you want deeper understanding and knowledge, we can talk, but this is really rudimentary. This is in a mediumship 101 class. But anyway, the point I was trying to say is that what I loved about being a spiritualist, and even before I knew I was a spiritualist, so don't get me wrong, and it wasn't woke up one morning and went, I'm a spiritualist, that's my religion. No, this has been a lifelong learning. And one of the biggest things is, the more I know myself, the more I know what I feel, the more I know who I am, the more I know what I like and don't like, the more I know what my boundaries are, the more I know about me, the easier it is for me to know what's mine and what's not. The easier it is for me to know if this situation is a good situation for me or not. Or is this a situation where I'm just feeling a little down, but this isn't who I really am. So if I get into a situation, organization, or a group, or a relationship, friendship, etc., where I'm changing, where I feel like, hey, I'm not being myself. All of a sudden, I think it's okay to be somebody I'm not, good, bad, or indifferent. Then that's when I take a pause and go, wait, is this me? Or is it the situation I'm in that's affecting how I'm feeling? Is it me? Or is it the energy that I'm picking up and receiving from those around me that is making me feel like it's me? Is this what I believe? Is this what I know to be true for me? Does this truly resonate with me? Now, some people might go, that's a pretty selfish way of thinking. It's all about you. Well, yeah. And it's a beautiful thing. Because the only perspective I can come from is my own. The only way I can truly know what is right for me is to know me. Am I helping out of love or am I helping out of obligation? Am I part of a group that is really feeding me and lifting me up and really resonating and feeding my soul the way I need it to be fed? Or am I part of a group that is being manipulative and harmful to other people in the name of service? Because I think that a lot of people get that confused. That to be in service, you must be in some sort of martyr-like state of mind or God-like state of mind. And that's neither. To be in service is to do that for others that you want done for you. And to know and to be able to discern when your service is being of help not of control, not of manipulation, not of trying to get something out of it, not a transactional based relationship. Because that's when the service is no longer a service. And I think some of us get caught up with, but I want to be seen as a good person, but I want to do the right thing. And this person is hurting, so I should be there for them. And if you are able to be there for them, but are you being of service? And when I mean being of service, are you serving them from a full cup? Or are you serving them from a deep down obligation, feeling of less than about yourself, a feeling of you have to, the obligation thing again, or a feeling of you being told to do it this way? And that's the only way anybody will see you as a good person. Because that's not really service, right? Who are you really helping? And better yet, are you actually creating harm unintentionally? And let's talk about intentions. Number one, everybody's heard the cliche, good intentions pave the road to hell. Well, there's a reason why that's a cliche, because there's truth in it. Action is always greater than intention. You may not have intended to step on my foot, but you stepped on my foot and it hurt. The action of stepping on my foot hurt. While it wasn't your intention to hurt me by stepping on my foot, does not negate the action that happened when you stepped on my foot. So your response to that is not, well, your foot was in my way, right? Your response to that is, which is victim blaming. If I had pulled my foot back, become a mind reader, I would have saw that you were going to step on my foot so that I could protect my foot from you stepping on my foot. That's a lot I got to go through when you just stepped on my foot. Or, well, it wasn't my intent to step on your foot. Doesn't make my foot hurt less, right? But while that's a basic example, and everybody could kind of agree, well, no, you're supposed to apologize, even though that wasn't your intent. It still hurt her. Say you're sorry if you mean it. If you mean it. Don't ever apologize if you don't mean it, because that's just a waste of time. If you mean it, right? But people don't see that dynamic in relationships or friendships or organizations or groups that they join. They don't start looking at, wait a second. I told X that I don't like it when they do that. It hurts my feelings. And X says, well, that wasn't my intent. Maybe you need to look deeper inside of yourself to figure out why you hurting because I brought up XYZ. And you might go, well, maybe I should. Maybe I should need to find out what my trigger points are. Maybe I need to heal somewhere. Now, mind you, everybody can stand some good healing, some good self-reflection, but not at the expense of losing yourself to make someone else feel comfortable about violating your boundaries. Let me repeat that. Everybody can use a little healing, a little self-reflection, a little private time, get to know yourself, but not at the expense of losing yourself to make others feel more comfortable to be around you. Not at the expense of others violating your boundaries, you retreating and allowing harm to happen to you so that others can continue to harm you. And if you need to hear it again, just press rewind and just watch it again. Watch it as many times as you need to. In case you don't know, I'm not a fan of victim blaming. I'm not a fan of not getting consent. And I'm not a fan of not owning your stuff. Personal responsibility. I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan. And while I'm a big fan of personal responsibility, it is my personal responsibility to say to you, you hurt my foot. And that's where it stops for me. I've done my part. Now, whether you apologize or not, whether you think I'm valid or not, is irrelevant. My foot hurts because you stepped on it. That's what I know. Your intent does not make my foot hurt less. Your intent did not keep you from stepping on my foot. And while it may seem so simple, it gets complicated because as human beings, we want to be loved. We want to be included. We don't want to, we're not into having a fight with everybody. There's some people who like a good fight. It's who they are. It's their nature. They like a good, they can feel alive. But the majority of us don't. The majority of us want to kind of just do A, B, C, D, E, and as chill away as we can. We want a little fun and excitement, but we'd rather others do it and let me watch, which is why TV is so popular. Shows are popular. Binge watching is popular. Going to see a band in concert and all of those things. I'll think of all of the entertainment aspects and ways out there. A lot of it is to watch somebody else do it. And while I enjoy the experience, majority of people want to enjoy the experience. And notice the word I said, enjoy. They want to be in joy. That's most of us. Very few of us are all into the conflict. So, because most of us are conflict adverse, we do a lot of, and especially as women, I mean, let's call a spade a spade. We as women are raised to be even more conflict adverse, right? For various reasons from media to all the way to safety issues and everything in between. But ultimately, we don't want to be in conflict. We don't want to live in conflict. The average day-to-day person don't want to live in conflict. They just don't. And because of that, we want to be in joy. But how do we live the life where we're not in conflict all the time with people? Brings me back to one of the major purposes behind, in my opinion, behind spiritualism. To thyself be true. When you're true to yourself, you kind of find yourself in a little less conflict. Now, I'm not saying that people won't be uncomfortable. I'm not even saying that people won't try to push you to be somebody you're not. No, that'll always happen. And I'm not saying that you won't flub up and do something you know you shouldn't have done. That'll always happen. We're humans. If we didn't make mistakes, why are we here? That's another topic, but just a quick note on that. Remember, you're here for a human experience. If you were here to be a perfect angel of God or of your understanding or whatever you believe, why are you here? Just saying. We're here to live the human experience. Whatever your beliefs are, we're here to live the experience. Good, bad, or indifferent. That's why we're here. We're not here to be angelic or spirit or whatever, because if that was the case, we wouldn't have came. Don't you know? But that's my opinion, and everybody's entitled for different opinions. So do not think or take this as if you don't agree with me, because that's not who I am. If you know me, you know me. If you know, you know. I always think that statement is weird, because what if I don't know? Aren't you going to tell me? But anyway, I digress. I don't want to get this to go much longer than it has, because I'm sure it's gone long. But here's a couple of things I want you to take in mind. How do you avoid being in a, and I'm not saying that you can avoid it, because things are other than yourself. That's the only thing you have control over. And when you're a child, you have no control. So this in no part is a recipe book for how to avoid abusive relationships or circumstances. This is when you are in a space where you are able to be safe, because safety is first. You have to feel secure and safe in your own skin and in your own environment before you can even get to this part. I'm gonna say that again. You have to be secure and safe in your own situation and environment before you can get to this part. I'll tell you one more time. You have to feel safe and secure in your current situation or environment to even get to this part. Because I think a lot of people skip that step when they're giving you the self-help way of how to make your life better. First, you have to be able to leave the abuser safely before you can start working on why you were drawn to being in a relationship with an abuser. Which, by the way, I am not a therapist. Go see one. Let me try that again. First, you have to be able to safely leave the situation or organization or relationship that you are currently in that is bringing you harm before you get to the part of working to unpack and to heal. Can't unpack and heal while you're not in a safe place. People, get that through your head. You got a loved one who is in an unsafe situation unless you have created a safe space for them, and it's not your responsibility to do that. Let me say that again. It's not your responsibility to do that. But unless they are in a safe space where they feel they can safely, securely walk away from it, stop being judgy. It takes time. It may take the rest of their life. And that is okay. But when you're past that point, you work on unpacking. And how do you work on unpacking? First of all, I highly recommend seeking a trained, licensed professional if it's within your financial means. Blessed be that in today's day and age, they are creating more and more low-cost, free opportunities for people to seek licensed, trained professional help for their mental, emotional, physical abuse that they need to work with or unpack. But even if you can't afford that, start with breathing if you're in a safe place to do so. Start with breathing and take it one moment at a time, one step at a time, 1 hour at a time, 1 day at a time. But for those of us who are able, because that's deep felt trauma that requires a professional. Say that again, requires a professional. I ain't it. Ain't it. But for those of us who are just trying to just be a better person, how do we be a better person in this world? How do we live a life of service and be of service and be of good service? Not just of service, we can get service. How many of us get bad service? But they are of service. He made it, gave me a hamburger with a handful of hate. I still got my hamburger, right? But I prefer to get my hamburger with a handful of love, right? So how can I be of good service? And part of being able to be a good service is to be of good service to yourself. To thyself be true. Get to know you. Know what your limits are. Know where you would be okay with taking the next step, expanding your comfort zone a little bit, even if it's just a nudge. All of these things about yourself, work with yourself. Be of good service to yourself. Service yourself. Make sure you're fed and watered on a regular basis if you can. If you can afford it, do it. Get good exercises. If you have the ability, do it. Love yourself. Start with liking yourself. Actually, start with, I ain't mad at me today. Start there. Because moving the needle doesn't have to be dramatic. Because the other part about being a spiritualist is that you know you're with you. We believe that life continues after this change called death. So I know I have all of eternity to be the best me that I can be. I start with one little thing and keep going every day. And then when I transition, I can keep going. There's no limits other than the ones I place on myself. Now, this does not mean that those who are in a situation or circumstances that are beyond their control, that they are not able to be safe and secure in, are doing something wrong, because they're not. When you're able to stop surviving, surviving is just enough if that's all you can do. If all you can do is just survive, that is good enough. Okay, let me say that again. For the row in the back, if all they are able to do is just survive another day, that is good enough. Because as a spiritualist, you ain't got nothing but time on your hands. Thank you for listening to the ramblings and musing of a spiritual being having a human experience. Stay safe, stay well. I'm going to come up with a tagline, and I hope I leave you with more questions than answers. Have a good one.